Is this thing on? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Oh, what the fuck is up, fam? It's Kalla from reKALLAbrate, back with the podcast, formerly known as Lightin Up Podcast, which is now known as reKALLAbrate, the podcast. Before we get into it and I explain the name change and all that good stuff, I want to kick it old school, keep the tradition of the Lightin Up Podcast, and say a prayer, take some deep breaths, light a candle, light some sage, and just set the tone for the rest of this recording, because I can't do it without the help of my ancestors and my people and God on the other side. So if you've got a candle and you want to join me with this ritual, I would love to have you. I'm going to start by taking 3 deep breaths in through my nose, out through my mouth. I'm not going to count it out. You kind of know the deal. You know how to breathe. You know how to follow along with my breath. So if you're into that sort of thing, let's get to it. And breathe in. As I light this candle, I just want to call upon my ancestors, my dad, my grandparents, all of the people who have come before me and laid the foundation so that I can be here. Thank you for being with me in this life and guiding my path and my words and my whole life so that I can, serve the highest good and serve love here on earth and be a beacon of light and love and authenticity for the people in my circle and the people who are listening to this podcast. Thank you for the technology that allows me to broadcast my voice across the airwaves, across the internet. Thank you for the opportunity to be myself, and thank you for everyone who's listening. I pray that this podcast can bless them, give them some sort of, takeaway that they can use in their own lives to just make the world a better, more loving, authentic, and peaceful place. Aho. Wow. Holy shit, y'all. I haven't done a podcast in years. I mean, I did record a podcast already just a few months ago with Shannon that I haven't released yet, but sitting here in front of my camera doing a podcast is not something that I've done in years. And some things have changed. So I'm going to just get right into it and talk a little bit about the name change of the podcast, give you some updates of what's happened in the last 2 to 3 years since I've recorded, talk about the podcast format, what to expect moving forward and things like that. So thanks for being here. Thanks for caring. And yeah, so for those of you who have been with me for a long time, you know that this podcast used to be called Lightin Up. And part of that was lighting a candle at the beginning, lighting sage, Palo Santo, and oftentimes it involved smoking some cannabis with my guest, which I, very much enjoyed. I still love me some cannabis every now and then, but I felt that Lightin Up was great and awesome, but I wanted to switch things up a little bit because primarily for the sake of simplicity, I wanted just to have my brand, my podcast, my website, everything be reKALLAbrate. It's a hard enough name for people to get straight. So rather than having Lightin Up and reKALLAbrate and all these different things, I figured I would just streamline everything, have it be reKALLAbrate the podcast, and kind of phase out Lightin Up. But I didn't want to lose all of the episodes that I had done with Lightin Up. So, if you listen to I believe it's the first 25 episodes, you will hear the podcast referred to as Lightin Up, and it's just from here on out that it's going to be reKALLAbrate the podcast. So I wanted to switch it to reKALLAbrate, like I said, because of consistency and just to kind of get on the same page about what reCALLAbrate means, to me, reCALLAbrate means to change the way you do or think about something. So it can also be like a reset, things like that. But back in 2020, when Coco happened, I started sharing openly on the internet. And when Coco came around, I got a lot of backlash from people that I had gone to high school with or known my whole life. And it caused me to get off the internet. And I was like, dude, I need to rethink this. And the name reCALLAbrate came to me as I had been praying and praying and praying for a brand name or something that I could start fresh and new. And reCALLAbrate came to me. And as soon as it came to me, I was like, holy shit, that's it. So then I came back on the internet as reCALLAbrate. I still have my personal accounts that I like literally never post on. But I came back as reCALLAbrate, and that's when I really just started sharing the truth of who I am and what I think in a place that was cultivated and created for like-minded people. So, to reCALLAbrate is to change your mind, and it's something that I do frequently and often as I learn and I grow. Things that I thought before, I no longer think, and I always reserve the right to change my mind, as I believe everyone should, as we learn and gain more information. So I really liked the name reCALLAbrate because it encompasses everything that I wanted to talk about. I can't even put myself in a box if I want to. There's so many different areas of life and things going on in the world that I wanted to discuss and have the freedom to discuss, that I didn't want to put myself in a box. And I feel that reCALLAbrate really allows me to touch on anything and everything and not contain myself or limit myself to a specific niche. I've said before, I am the niche, the brand is me, and that's it. So one thing you can expect with this podcast is that regardless of whether or not I have a guest on or I'm recording by myself, everything that I do is done in one take with minimal to no editing. There might be, I have had to edit very limited things in the past because someone has requested that I take something out due to legal concerns or safety concerns or specific things like that. But aside from those very few limited circumstances, you can expect that this is a one-take operation with minimal to no editing. And that's not only because I'm lazy, but also because I very much believe in authenticity. Like, authenticity is my guiding light. That is how I live my life. If I'm not being authentic, I might as well fucking die, in my opinion. So you can expect mistakes. You can expect me to slip up on my words or maybe say things wrong and have to correct it later or various things. And I just appreciate your patience and your understanding that this is important to me to be authentic, and it's important to me to just be a real person. Like, I'm just a real regular person just like you. And so is Joe Rogan or, Mel Robbins or any of these other people. Like, they're just people. We're all people. And I think that as we, are stepping into this new era of life, you could call it the age of Aquarius or whatever you want to say. I think that the true currency is truth, vulnerability, and authenticity. So those are absolutely my guiding lights and something you can always expect and trust that you'll get from me. So thanks for, taking the good with the quote unquote bad. I guess I wrote a whole list over here for myself, so that's why I keep glancing over here. I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I guess, well, before I get into the changes over the last few years that I've gone through, I just want to kind of finish up these podcast notes. So what you can expect moving forward as this podcast continues is there's going to be solo episodes with just myself, and there's going to be episodes where I have guests on. And I'm really not going to force myself into a calendar or a schedule in terms of when those podcasts will be released. I used to release like every Monday, and I don't operate well that way. I operate better when I have a lot of freedom to flow with my life, my schedule, my menstrual cycle, all of those things inform how I show up on the internet. So I just want to allow myself the grace and the freedom to share and record and then share those podcasts when it feels aligned and when it feels good. So, I may record a podcast and release it and then not release one for 2 months, or I may record one and release 3 in a week. I don't really know yet, but I know that doing this podcast is something that I have thoroughly enjoyed in my past, and I definitely got away from it in the past few years, and it hurt my soul, and I felt like I was missing a part of who I am and not doing what lights me up. So I wanted to come back, and I'm going to do it with freedom. So part of the reason I also want to do a podcast is I know so many awesome people who are doing so many awesome, unique, like profound things. And I wanted to give space to share their stories and their perspectives and their insights with you as well. So I'm really excited for, the podcast episodes I've already recorded and the ones that I will be recording. I have a whole list of people who I've reached out to, and even a bigger list of people who I want to reach out to see if they'd be willing to come on and share some of their insights with me. So I think there's a lot to look forward to. I'm personally very excited, and just really look forward to getting back into the swing of things. So thank you for your patience, and especially thank you to everyone who's stuck it out with me for the past almost 5 years of this journey that I've been on. It's been quite a ride. So as you probably have noticed, or as I'm telling you, there have been a lot of changes for me personally in the past, we'll just say 3 years. I started this podcast when I was living in Arizona. I was single, and it was awesome. I had a great time interviewing and meeting people and recording and sharing, and I felt like I was really on the up and up on my way. And then I met Jake, and he lives in Colorado. I came out here to visit. I'll do a whole podcast on the story of Jake and Kalla. And, as you probably know, once you fall in love, it's kind of like everything else falls to the wayside. You're in this honeymoon phase. You just want to be in love and hang out with your person and all of these things. So really, the podcast just went to the back burner. I even have some episodes that I recorded years ago that I never released because I just got lost in the love sauce, dude. So, I don't know that I ever will release them. Maybe I will, but I probably won't. I think I'm just going to move forward in life. But yeah, so that was the first major change, was I met Jake, and I fell in love unexpectedly with a man who lived in Colorado, and naturally that brought me to Colorado. And so I moved out here in April of 2022. And not only did I fall in love with a man, but I fell in love with a man who has 3 children. So I became stepmom. Like, I honestly didn't even cross my mind that I would become a stepmom that fast, but it was like, as soon as I met Jake, it was like, boom, oh my gosh, I have a stepmom. We're going to have a stepmom. Ah! So exciting. And so that completely shifted my life. Like, I went from being a single woman who could do whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, however she wanted, to suddenly I was a stepmom and a wife, essentially, and living in a completely different state. So it was a lot for me to process and adjust to, and I'm still adjusting. As it's taken me years to get to this point where I feel like I can create the space for myself to do what I'm passionate about and what I love and fill my own cup. So alas, here we are. I'll share more about being a stepmom and, my relationship and those things as we move forward, because definitely, I'm a completely different person than I was 3 years ago because I'm a stepmom. And, it really just, my life did a 180. There's so much I could say, but we'll go into the specifics later. And then, another thing that happened that really has completely changed me is my dad died. And oh God, I can't help myself but cry on the internet, dude. But yeah, my dad died in February of 2023. And that was a huge impact on my life. I couldn't do much of anything for a long time after that, just to process losing a parent. It's definitely a life-altering experience. So you can certainly expect that grief will be a topic. I'll do a whole podcast about my dad and the process of losing him. I'll definitely cry through that one. And yeah, so a lot has changed. And, I've always been very conscious of death and dying and losing people. Death has been a part of my life since I've been very young, losing grandparents, friends at my high school. I just feel like death has been very prominent in my life, as probably a lot of yours as well, because the fact of the matter is everyone will die. We will die. Everyone we love will die. And that's part of the reason that I feel so compelled to put myself out there and do this podcast and share my story and my experience, because my life is informed by death. And the fact of the matter is I will die. Kalla will die. And once I die, all of my stories, my perspectives, my thoughts, my experiences, everything that makes me who I am will die with me. And that's crazy to think about. We get one life to live, and I want to live mine full out, and I want to share authentically, and I want to leave a legacy and just, put myself out there, because I'm going to fucking die. So who fucking cares? That's the way I see it. And I also just think that there is such understated power in storytelling. I personally have learned so much in witnessing other people through their grief or through their birth or through whatever various life experiences that they have. When I can listen to their stories and see part of myself in them, it informs how I act and how I move, So if I can be that person for you who can share in a way that's authentic and vulnerable, so that you might be able to see some of yourself in me or my experience, and then, that can inform how you want to move forward, or maybe, you can live with death a little bit more in mind, or call your dad because, you witnessed me lose mine. All of these things, that's the greatest gift I think I can offer the world, and that I can also receive from the world. It's a huge blessing for me and gift for me anytime I hear from you all and you say, hey, I called my dad because, he, like, my dad's alive and he's going to die, and I think of you and your dad, so it made me call my dad. Like, hell yeah, that's awesome. Or, hey, I called my stepmom and just told her thank you because you've shared how difficult it is to be a stepmom. And I'm like, dude, yes, like, all of this is the bread and butter of the human experience. Like, our relationships with people, I think, is the most important thing. Nothing else matters. Like money, status, clothes. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I care about my people and relationships and the truth and authenticity. And so that's why I share. And that's why you can expect to hear things about my personal life and my grief and these things, because I personally have gained so much from other people who are willing to share, that I feel I can pay it forward and be that person for other people. So yeah, I think that's the major changes that I've gone through in the past 3 years. Of course, there's been things that have happened in the world, and just by virtue of getting older, I've gained more wisdom. So there's a lot of things that I want to share and will share moving forward, but I just wanted to share this first episode to welcome you all back to reKALLAbrate the podcast, kind of set the tone of what you can expect, and just share why I'm sharing. So I think that's all I have to say for now. I want to thank all of you for being here and for caring. If you want to stay up to date on what I'm doing, please, subscribe and follow this podcast. It'll be on anywhere you can find podcasts. My intention is to also share it to YouTube. And you can also check out reKALLAbrate.com, where I have a bunch of merch on my website, and I will be adding more merch. And I will be adding a specific fundraiser for Jake and I as we navigate trying to expand our family. He got his vasectomy reversed, which is a huge, huge, huge thing. I will also do a specific podcast on the vasectomy reversal. So I'm really excited to continue sharing with all of you, to put myself back out there, and to do it in a way that feels good and authentic to me and my process. So, as always, I'm not the best at responding to messages. I do my best, but truthfully, it's something that I struggle with because it's just nonstop. And I'm like, but I'm doing my best, and I will continue to do my best, because as much as the messages are provide a sense of overwhelm for me, they're also something that I deeply cherish and I'm grateful for because of the connection that I have with all of you. So just know that even if I take weeks or months to respond, please don't be afraid or intimidated to continue sending me messages. I will respond at some point. And unless I get like 500 gazillion followers, in which case, I don't know how people manage that. I guess you just don't respond. I don't know. But otherwise, in the meantime, like I said, please click and subscribe, follow, check out my website. I'm going to continue to upload more blogs and just get back in the swing of things. So thank you so much to everyone for being here. If you are here and listening and give a shit about my life, it means more to me than I can ever express to you, especially the people who have been with me since the beginning. I have some people who listen who I've been friends with for years, other people who've been around since the beginning of reKALLAbrate, since I started talking about cocoa and the scam that is. You can definitely expect some, government conspiratorial content, because that's just a part of who I am. General distrust of the government, for sure. So all of it. You can come here and you can get it all. The entirety of the human experience will be on display for you at reKALLAbrate. So thank you for being here. I hope you all have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day, and I look forward to sharing more with you. Thank you.
Funk past J's and face of blunt ashtrays and skate with punk kids. I still chase the sun bad days. I'm lacing up half cabs and shake John spliffs. Whatever happened to rapping should rest in peace to Mac, and I'm here to raise it from the dead. Cause drugs ain't cool, kid. Plug you with that new shit. Turn water to wine and break bread. And if I said this all the future, would you trust I told the truth, or would you run away and tell my whole fan base? Cause sooner or later, kid, they'll take your human nature and they'll burn you at the stakes while the band plays. So, in the last words, better speak up now. I said, why do birds sing? What's a king without a crown? They all stood in silence while they listened to the sound of a madman reason with the demons he found. You can't lock up ideas, we don't even exist. I just live through the speakers and the beats that we kick. Is this forbidden fruit from the Garden of Eden? Is it freedom of speech, or am I speaking for freedom?